Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to the presentation of the OPM3 Portugal project results regarding the Agile Information Systems sector. First, I'll start with the results of process ownership that achieved 100%. It means that on the organizations which implement the Agile have clearly a responsible group for the owner of the processes that are being implemented at those organizations. For the initiation phase, we have two projects: the project charter and the identification of stakeholders. First, the project charter achieved a score of 69%, which is a good score. The identification of stakeholders are not being so well implemented at these organizations. In fact, these organizations does not have good results on the planning stage, as you can see, with not so good results on the project management plan, considering the previous project charter result, achieving only 57%. The calling requirements a little bit better with 62%, but then the definition of scope with 55, the creation of the WBS with 26, definition of activities have a good result with 76%. Their sequence not so good with 55, but then the estimation is being well implemented with 74 and 81% on the score of resources and duration respectively. Moving on, develop schedule achieved 29% of the score. Estimate costs also low with the 12% of score. Determine budget a little bit better with 55% on the Agile organizations. The quality is not being planned for these Agile organizations, registering only 10%. Then for the develop of the resource plan and the plan communications, they got a good result of 79 and 74% respectively. But then the processes related with the risk, again, not so well. 5%, 2% on the plan risk management, identification of the risk, and then on the analysis as well as the plan risk response, they achieved 0% of the score. And then the last process of the planning phase, which is the plan procurements process, achieved 26%, also a low result. Continuing here, we have for the executing, monitoring and control. For the first project process, we have the direct and managed project execution, achieving 14%. Continuing on the light red, we have 7% on the perform quality assurance, also low result. Acquired project team with a good result. The execution of the project for the projects are being well implemented on the Agile organizations with 71% of the score, but the develop and the manage of this project team are not being well implemented, as you can see, with 7 and 19%. The distribution of information is effectively done with 19% of the score by these organizations. The managed stakeholder expectations is 43%. Actually, compared with other sectors, it's a good result here by the Agile organizations. Conduct procurements with a low result with 17, and then of course 100%, which at least was what it is expectable by these organizations, a full implementation of the monitor and control project work with 100%, as these organizations are putting much effort and consideration of the monitor and control of the projects. Then perform integrated change control, achieved 55%. A little bit better in the verification of the scope, the control of the same, and the control of the schedule with 62, 74, 79%. Actually, they're good percentages. Then the control of the costs not so well with 50% marked on yellow. Then also a little bit worse performed quality control. This quality is not being well implemented. This process is related with quality with 14%. The report performance with a good result of 71. Then again the risk. Now a process related with the risks now on the control of the project phase with 0%. The administrative procurement with 21%, and also the two remaining processes related with the closing phase, closed project or phase, and closed procurements with 21 and 29 respectively. So also not so good results here verified on the last stage of the process with the projects. The overall maturity is 44% for the project management, as you can see on the bottom, and on the right you can see that MORS 15 best practices achieved by Agile information systems organizations. Moving on to the portfolio management processes results, we have here the table, which is, as you can see, marked mostly on red, which means that the majority of the processes are not being implemented, as they are scoring 0%. The exceptions are the process ownership and the monitor business strategy changes, which they achieve 21% and 2% respectively. The first one also means that on the Agile information systems organizations, they are not clearly identified the person that is responsible for new projects to enter on the portfolio. They are not implementing, is not known by the organization who are or who is the responsible to implement strategical improvements on the processes related with the portfolio, and then the remaining processes are marked on red, meaning that they are 0%. So the overall maturity of the portfolio management is 2%, achieving 0 best practices. Moving on to the remaining domain evaluated on the project of OPM3 Portugal. We have here for the Agile information systems a much better and greener table representing the results for this domain. Starting with the policy and vision of the OPM, we have 64%. Also good results with the strategic element and resource allocation with 71 and 72% respectively. Management systems not so good, but still some techniques are verified to be that are being implemented by the Agile information systems with 54%. Also sponsorship with 71%, good result here as well. Organizational structures, competency management, individual performance appraisals with 52, 51, 58%. So there are bounces between the 51 and the 58%. So average results. We have also the project management training with 20%, not so well. The Agile organizations are not putting much into consideration the implementation of training and development of the project team in respectively on project management. Here again we have also organizational project management communities with 52%. Again, the same levels as that were around the same levels that I spoke about on the previous processes. A little bit better on the OPM practices, OPM methodology, as well as OPM techniques with 67, 73 and 63%. OPM metrics and success criteria not so well with 37 and 58%. Then benchmarking marked on light red, it means that it's a weak result. It's not a 0, there are some signals, but still it's very low result, and these organizations, Agile, show that these results show that these Agile organizations are not taking in consideration what other organizations are implementing, what other organizations are doing with similar projects. Then the remaining process for this domain, we have the knowledge management and PMS system, information systems, that we have 77% achieved, which is a good result. Moving on to the next slide, we have the list of the best practices achieved by the Agile Information Systems organizations. We have here the list where you can actually watch them with more detail. Okay, let's move on to the OPM3 summary results regarding the Agile Information Systems organizations. The overall maturity level achieved by these organizations is 5%, and for the OPM3 Continuum Global Score is 37%, as you can see on the bottom. The difference between them is that on the bottom, the OPM3 Continuum Global Score counts every effort that the organization does, even if it's not across all the organization, which means that even if a process is only implemented by a part of the organization, it counts that effort. So that effort of the techniques of the processes that are being implemented, even if they're not across all the organization, is 37%. So we should take into account those 37% as a final maturity score. The OPM3 continuity score for the different domains evaluated on the OPM3 Portugal are 44% for the projects, 2% for the portfolio, and 55% for organizational enablers regarding Agile Information Systems organizations. Then again, for the project management, we have 5% for the standardized, 10% for the measure maturity, 17% for the control maturity, and 5% for improvement maturity. As you can see, not only measure but also control maturity is higher than standardization, which means that Agile information systems are measuring and controlling processes that are not implemented on the standardization across all the organization. This means that the organizations are putting an effort on those processes that are not standardized, that is not effectively, because first the organization should standardize and then only after measure, control and improve. So when the organizations move to standardize those processes, they are going to need to measure, control it, and also of course to improve, and that will take even more effort. So moving on to the fourth point, we have 2 best practices achieved by these organizations of the scope of 300, which means that only 7% of the best practices were achieved. So we got to the final slide for the results, which is a table of the overall maturity of achieved by Agile Information Systems. You can see 5% of 5% was achievable by these organizations. Dividing by the portfolio, program and project, where you can see that program was not part of the scope of the project of the OPM3 Portugal project, is marked on white, so it was not evaluated. Then the portfolio was evaluated, but it got a result of 0%. Then the project management was evaluated and registered a score of 9%, where it got 5% on the standardization, 17% on the measure, 10% on the control, and at last 5% on the improvement. The organizational enablers achieved 9% of the score. And with this I finished the presentation for the Agile Information Systems organizations. Thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day.